Hey everyone, and welcome back. Today we are taking a deep dive into one of the most established and frankly most interesting licenses in the entire iGaming world, the Kahnawake gambling license.
So, let's say you're ready to launch your own online casino. You've got the brand, you've got the games, but now you've hit the first and maybe the biggest hurdle: which license do you actually go for? It's a choice that can literally make or break your business from day one.
You really have two main paths you can go down. On one side, you've got the get it done yesterday options. Think jurisdictions that are super fast and cheap, but, well, let's just say their reputation might not be the best. Then, on the complete other end of the spectrum, you have the gold-plated licenses like Malta. Incredibly prestigious, no doubt, but the cost and the paperwork are just astronomical. So, for a startup, where's the middle ground?
Well, that's where this place comes in, the Mohawk territory of Kahnawake, right in Canada. For a lot of serious entrepreneurs, the Kahnawake license is that perfect Goldilocks option. It's respected, it's not going to completely break the bank, and it gives you a solid foundation for real long-term growth. Okay, so here's our game plan for today. We're going to start with how Kahnawake built its reputation, then we'll weigh the pros and cons for you. We'll walk through the entire application journey, break down every single cost, cover the rules you'll have to live by, and then at the end, help you figure out if this license is really the right one for you.
First up, let's talk reputation. In this industry, trust is everything. And believe me, Kahnawake's story is pretty wild. They didn't just wake up one day as a top-tier regulator, they really had to earn.
Just look at this timeline. The Kahnawake Gaming Commission, or KGC, has been around since 1996. That makes them one of the oldest in the business. But back in the day, their reputation was terrible. I mean, they were known for being a black hole for player complaints, a real mess. But then, a huge scandal involving a poker site forced them to have a massive wake-up call. And from that moment on, they completely turned things around, rising from the ashes to become what they are today, a true standard-bearer for fairness.
And you don't have to take my word for it. This quote from Casino Meister, a major industry watchdog, says it all. The KGC is now famous for protecting players. They even have a full-time person just to handle disputes, which is almost unheard of. And that focus on fairness gives their license holders a ton of credibility.
All right, so we know they have a solid reputation now, but what does that actually mean for your business? Let's get into the nitty-gritty, the pros versus the cons. Okay, the trade-off here is pretty clear. The pros are huge. A 0% corporate tax rate? I mean, come on, that's a massive financial win. Plus, you get that global prestige and player trust. But the cons are just as real. The costs aren't small. The application is a serious multi-stage process, not some rubber stamp. And once you're in, the compliance rules are super strict.
So, speaking of that process, you're probably wondering what it actually looks like. It might sound a little intimidating, but the KGC has actually laid out a very clear roadmap for anyone who wants to apply. So here's how it works. First, the basics. You incorporate your company. Then, you get all your documents ready, and we're talking about everything: deep background checks, business plans, financials. You submit all that and pay the fee. Then the KGC does a really thorough due diligence check. Now here's the interesting part. If you pass, you don't get the full license. Not yet. You get a provisional 6-month permit. They're basically putting you on probation to watch how you operate before they give you the final thumbs up for the full 5-year license.
And that brings us to the timeline. That initial review, expected to take about 4 to 8 weeks. Then you start that 6-month provisional period where they're actively monitoring you to make sure you're playing by their rules. Only after you pass that trial run do you get the full license, which is then good for 5 years. So yeah, this is not a get licensed by Friday kind of deal. It's a serious process.
Okay, let's talk about the part everyone wants to know about, the money. What kind of financial investment are we actually talking about here?
So the big number you need to have ready right at the start is $40,000 US. This is for what's called a client provider authorization, but it's not just a fee. That 40 grand actually covers their entire in-depth due diligence process and your license fee for the entire first year.
After that first year, you're looking at an annual renewal fee of $20,000. So that's a key operational cost you've got to bake into your business plan every single year.
And finally, there's a $5,000 fee for each key person permit. This is for your directors, your senior managers, basically anyone important running the show. It really underscores how much the KGC cares about who is behind the business.
So here it is, all laid out. You got that initial $40,000 fee, the $20,000 renewal each year, and then $5,000 for each of your key people. These are the main costs you need to have budgeted to get in the door and stay licensed.
Now, getting the license is obviously a huge achievement, but really, it's just the start of your journey with the KGC. Being a licensee means you're signing up for a long-term commitment to keeping your standards incredibly high.
Think of this as your rulebook for staying on their good side. You have to get regular audits to prove your games are fair and random. You need to have strict player protection tools like self-exclusion. A serious anti-money laundering program isn't optional, it's required. You have to maintain clear ways for players to resolve disputes. And of course, your systems have to be rock solid to protect player data. It's a constant job.
So after all that, the reputation, the process, the costs, the rules, we finally get to the most important question. Is the Kahnawake license actually the right move for your business?
Let's make this really simple. This license is an amazing fit for you if you value reputation above everything else, if you're well-funded and can handle those costs, and if you're in this for the long haul. On the other hand, it's probably not for you if you need to launch like tomorrow, if you're on a super tight budget, or, and this is a big one, if your plan is to target players in the US, because that is a restricted market for this license.
At the end of the day, it all comes down to your strategy. Getting a Kahnawake license sends a powerful message that you are building a serious, trustworthy, and sustainable business. So I'll leave you with this thought. Reputation is something that's earned, not bought. The question is, where will you choose to invest?